To Russia's Zaporozhye region now, where 5 people have been killed and 15 wounded after the Ukrainian shelling of a residential area in the city of Vasilyevka. That's according to local authorities. 4 emergency workers were among those injured in the attack, which brought heavy damage to a civilian building. Officials say the situation remains tense as the city continues to come under Ukrainian shelling. RT correspondent Ilya Vasyunin reports from the scene.
Behind me is a hotel in Vasilyevka, which was struck twice by HIMARS. As you can see, the top floors are destroyed. This is the central part of the city. People are now going outside. They were hiding for some time due to the risk of a new strike. An hour after the first attack, when emergency services arrived and civilians had gathered at the scene, the Ukrainian forces sent another missile. So most of the casualties are civilians. People are now trying to repair the windows that were broken in and around the building. There is still a risk of further attacks.
Well, the Russian city of Donetsk came under a fresh round of Ukrainian shelling earlier on Wednesday, with at least 1 civilian casualty reported by local officials. Canadian journalist Eva Bartlett is on the ground for us in the embattled Donetsk Republic.
We are in Kirovsky, a western district of the city of Donetsk, and in fact we're in the very west of Kirovsky, a few kilometers from Ukrainian forces. Now this house behind me, to my left here, was shelled by Ukrainian forces yesterday. It has been completely destroyed. The neighbors don't want to talk, and in my experience, when they don't want to speak, it's because they fear appearing on camera and they fear reprisals from Ukraine, their house being shelled as a result of them talking to media. What I can say is that this is a completely civilian area. It's a completely residential area. There are no military targets here whatsoever. And this destruction, this terror, the bombings that we hear ongoing in the background, this is what civilians in the Donbass have been living with since 2014.
In other developments on the front lines, the number of Russian soldiers killed in a missile attack in the city of Makiivka has risen to 89. That's according to the Russian Defense Ministry, which says Ukrainian forces used US-supplied HIMARS rockets to target Russian army positions in the Donetsk Republic. RT's Murad Gaziev has more.
The death toll has risen from 63 previously to now 89. It has increased as rescuers, emergency services, the military have cleared away the rubble of this building that was struck 1 minute after midnight on the New Year's Day, Moscow time. The Russian military has come out and said that in all 6 HIMARS rockets were launched at this building. 2 of them were shot down, 4 impacted this building. It compromised the structural integrity of the building. The building collapsed. Many of the soldiers who emerged from the rubble, who survived the initial attack, they ran back into the damaged sections of the building to try and dig out their friends. And many of them were killed again when other missiles struck home. We've also learned the reason, the presumable reason for all of this, and that is mobile phones.
The main reason for the incident was, despite a ban, the turning on and mass use of mobile phones within range of enemy weapons. This factor allowed the enemy to locate and determine the coordinates of military personnel's location to carry out a missile strike. Currently, all necessary measures are being taken to prevent such tragic incidents in the future.
Russia destroyed the HIMARS launcher vehicle that launched these missiles, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. Furthermore, 4 more HIMARS launchers were destroyed in Drushkovka, a settlement nearby. There also 4 other multiple rocket launcher systems were destroyed. A Ukrainian barracks was struck with 200 casualties there. Nearby in Maslovka, another barracks was struck, which housed foreign fighters together with the Ukrainian military. We've seen demonstrations of people in Samara, which again is where these mobilized fighters hailed from. More than 500 people coming out to lay flowers. What we heard, what they said, isn't that they were broken or that they were upset. It is that they were defiant.
It's very hard, but we can't be broken. We will destroy the enemy together. We were left with no choice. Neither we nor our husbands wanted war, but the collective West rallied against us, rallied to destroy us and our children.
For me, this is very terrible news, a great loss. Every Russian person is very significant to me and to everyone else. This is a very serious shock, but at the same time we all understand that this is a war and there may be losses. Despite all, we must move on to victory.
What happened should not go unpunished. This incident will forever remain in our hearts, and I am sure that not a single death of our soldiers will be in vain.
The message that the Russian Ministry of Defense sent, those responsible for this tragedy will be punished. I've spent more than 6 months on the front lines. We've seen the lengths that the Russian military goes to mitigate risks, to minimize risk. And the same is true for soldiers. You don't get many of them living in buildings together, more than 100. These missiles that were launched were a message because somebody somewhere messed up. And that is what the Russian Ministry of Defense is trying to say, that they will get to the bottom of this, and the officers, the generals, those responsible for stationing so many people together in a single building, that they will be identified and they will be punished.